Good evening. My name is Odie Hawkins, and once again, welcome to Moments in Time, to the reading of newspaper columns that I wrote for a paper called the African Times newspaper for a time, 1996 to 1999. They're located in Los Angeles. Professor, no, not professor, businessman, Charles Anshiam was the publisher. Very good guy in some ways. Anyway, we came up with the idea of rereading some of these columns to see how they parallel what's going on today. And in many cases, too frequently, the columns that I wrote in 1996 seem wearily like some of what's happening today. But before I start into these reading today, I'd like to hold up a copy of my latest book. Oh, I think I did this the last time we were
But
doing
please, it's very important
sorry.
because it's such a unique book.
Oh.
Please hold it up again.
Okay.
All right. And that is Quadrant Balls and Bright Moments.
That's right.
A very unique book about a very unique subject.
Situation and a time for that
Yes,
matter.
and the time frame, for
Yes.
sure.
For those who have some historical knowledge of what the quadroon balls are about, I won't have belabor you with it, but it concerns a period of time when some women who had African blood in their bodies were, I guess you could say, put into a certain kind of privileged position by being placed with European men. I'm being as delicate about this as I can. They were not, correctly speaking, prostitutes. They might be the equivalent of African American geishas. They were accomplished, many of them. They played piano, they sang, they could dance, they could do a number of things, but basically, the most important thing they could do was to hold this man's attention. And this man, his name might have been Francois or Manuel. African American men, of course, were at the bottom of the socio-economic heap at the time, so they didn't have quadroon ladies waiting for them at home. And it was a known practice. The African Americans called it left-handed marriage because in most cases, the man may have had a wife, children over there, I mean, with my right hand, and then he would have this lady over here that he had made a deal for. It was called placage, and those in New Orleans know all about it. Okay, that's enough of that.
Well, can be purchased on Amazon or check the internet to purchase Quadrant Balls and Bright Moments by Odie Hawkins. And it was just published in February of this year.
Appreciate that.
Okay.
On with the reading.
On with the reading.
This particular one was written in July. And the title of the column was Africa Media Watch. It wasn't Moments in Time. Moments in Time is that other thing.
It's
separate.
Well, yes. The umbrella is.
The umbrella
is Moments in
you
Time.
got it. You
Okay.
got it.
Yes.
How do you like my hat?
I love your hat. Yes, indeed. You look rather questionable. Gentleman of unknown means.
I'm glad you like it. I may give it back to you.
Fair enough.
Okay. To them, it makes no news. That's the title of the column. The mainstream media has given us its brief attention span to South Africa's Mbeki and Nigeria's Obasanjo have returned to its Tarzanic roots. I'm always belaboring Hollywood and the Hollywood movies and things because at one point everything just seemed like Tarzan to me. You know, if it was white guys swinging through some trees somewhere, it was Tarzan. They might be swinging through some canyons in New York. It was still Tarzan. Matter of fact, right now, on on today's showing, they're showing Gone with the Wind. This is Tarzan in Mississippi, I guess. Let me start this off and be serious.
Yes.
The mainstream media has given us its brief attention span to South Africa's Mbeki and Nigeria's Obasanjo and returned to its Tarzanic roots. One must wonder why there is no information about the activities of the West African peacekeeping force and its assertion that Libya, Burkina Faso, and Liberia have been instrumental in destabilizing the situation in Sierra Leone. The problem in Sierra Leone is not Fode Sanko, the rebel leader, or Sam Bakari, the rebel field commander. Rather, it is the link between Libya, Burkina Faso, and Liberia, said the Major General Timothy Shepedi, the outgoing field commander of West African Peacekeeping Force. The ongoing conflict in Sierra Leone, which began in 1991, has claimed 20,000 lives and displaced a quarter of the country's 5 million people, according to aid workers in Sierra Leone. This was printed in the African Times in April 1999. The paper I worked for kept the news. The International Criminal Tribunal on Rwanda in Arusha, Tanzania, is taking flack for having ordered the release of Mayor Bernard Tuyahaga. Tuyahaga is alleged to be involved in the murder of up to 500,000 people in the ethnic cleansing of 1994. To the disappointment of the prosecutor's office, 4 counts of crime, including conspiracy to commit genocide and incitement to commit genocide, were ruled out by the confirming judge, leaving Tuyahaga to face a simple charge of crimes against humanity. Conviction on this charge would carry a sentence of only 5 or 10 years. The picture needs some adjustment. Why is a man under Rwandan law considered a Category 1 genocide suspect being allowed to walk? Has someone been dashed? African agenda. Professor Rawlings of Ghana has had 2 terms in office and may be toying with the idea of bending constitutional rules to go for a 3rd strike. Or is it just a rumor? Rawlings, as we all recall, with a group of junior officers, seized power in 1979 and paved the way for elections. But after 28 months, he accused Hilalima of being ineffective in solving Ghana's economic problems and overthrew him in 1981. The country's 5th military takeover. Rawlings was later to win the 1992 elections by 58% of the total vote, which was disputed by some people. Stay tuned. Public agenda. In round figures, Africa owes more than $300 billion, and the African nations spend more each year servicing their external debts than they spend on both primary education and health care. President Clinton has announced a $70 billion debt forgiveness proposal for some developing countries in exchange for economic reforms. Yeah. Jubilee 2000. Who thought of this name? Jubilee is an international campaign to cancel the debts of developing countries. The South African chapter states that debt forgiveness is a prerequisite for sustainable development in Africa. The mind has to take a break from these few items, amongst many others, that never seem to surface in the mainstream media. That's the whole point of what I'm saying. I choose to relax with the sounds of some Latin music. Latin music? There's nothing Roman about the percussion I'm hearing, the clang of the ogogo and the chickadee. What's Latin about Celia Cruz, Toño La Negra, Francisco Aguabella, Francis Awe, Babatunde Olatunji, Blay and Bole, Bobby Matos, Armando Peraza, or any of the ex-members of the Buena Vista Social Club in Havana, Cuba. Where's the Latin? I mean, it'd be pretty hard to see Mongo as a Latin. Well, here we go again. Most of the Latin American scholars and historians agree that roughly 95% of the Africans who were enslaved were shipped to what is now Latin America. The satirical quotation marks enclosing Latin suggests that there was never anything Latin about the lands that the Europeans ripped off from the people. That's what the Native Americans called themselves in many instances, the people. The enslaved Africans were concentrated in the Caribbean, Peru, Colombia, Venezuela, Bolivia, and Brazil. Brazil, as most of us know, with a population of 160 million, has the largest number of Africans in the world after Nigeria. So, what this means is that the music I'm enjoying is African music played by African Americans, the southern branch, but I have to play ethnomusicologists to get that info. I asked Ricardo Limpo, the leader of Makina Loca, at the Congo Room on Wilshire Boulevard, what he thought about the phenomenon of Latin music. Limpo, born in Kinshasa, Zaire, describes his musical genre as Congolese Cuban music. Everyone in Africa recognizes that Cuban music is African music, Limpo said, adding that he is pleased to see Latinos embracing their African heritage. Well, wonders never cease. Yes, every day in the mainstream media, where's Fela when we need him? Where's Fela when we need him? Fela Anikulapo Kuti. I miss him.
Yes.
He wrote a book. This bitch of a life, he called it. It's a real stunner. So there we have it.
Did he write it or someone write for him?
Excuse me?
Did he write it or did someone?
He wrote it.
Oh, okay.
And you could tell that he wrote it because it's sort of spicy in just the same way.
Okay, fair enough.
It doesn't stop being spicy after the title. It goes on and on and on. As a matter of fact, as you know, at one point, he married 32 women one day.
Yes, I do remember the documentary, him running around. And
but he didn't stop making music.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that's a pun.
That is a pun.
Okay, so...
Your website is www.odiehawkins.com. It's being revised. There's an upcoming meeting in May at the library, which we will be doing. And in the meantime, it's reading and writing and only necessary arithmetic. Okay, I say. And with that,
thank you so much. Yeah.
Yes.